Hello, good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Samolyk, and I run FinOps at Fannie Mae. This is actually my second time presenting at FinOps X, and I realize choosing a non-AI topic is a little bold on our part, but I figure after a full day of AI, you guys are ready for something different, and we'll talk about something else that's very expensive, which is FinOps tooling. So our team has been centralized since 2019. So we've been through almost every phase of the FinOps maturity model there, from spreadsheets to third-party cost optimization vendors. And then finally, we just asked ourselves, so Bala, why don't we just build it ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about building FinOps tooling. Is it actually make sense? And with me today is Bala. He's the engineer. He's the magic behind the curtain. He's going to go ahead and introduce himself to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bala Sundaram. I am a principal engineer at Fannie Mae. I have been with Fannie Mae for about 8 years, mostly working on cloud infrastructure automation and management. This is my first time presenting at FinOps X, and I am so very excited here. I'm going to share my experience in building and evolving our internal FinOps platform, and I hope you can take away some useful ideas and apply it to your own organization.
Absolutely. So let me tell you a little bit about Fannie Mae. So Fannie Mae is a government-sponsored enterprise, and we've been around for a while, since 1938. We support lenders. So basically, we help lenders lend. We provide liquidity and stability to the US housing market. And our mission is to expand access and affordable housing to renters and to homeowners. So Bala, how much of the United States do you think is covered or backed by either a Fannie Mae or a Freddie Mac loan?
It's 75%.
Did you look that up? Good job. Yes, 70%. So the odds are that some of you in the room may have a Fannie Mae backed mortgage right now. So before we jump in, I did want to give a little bit of disclaimer, because we know the whole build buy it's a hot topic, right? So we did what worked best for us at Fannie Mae. Some companies build early. Some buy first. Most end up somewhere in between. But what shaped our journey really had a lot to do with our information security team. We had a lot of restrictions on us, and that sort of drove our path to where we are today. So when you're here today, don't say to yourself, should we be doing what they're doing? You should be asking yourself, what constraints do you have that should shape your path? All right, I know a lot of you are seasoned people here, but I did want to kind of start from the beginning of our journey. So hopefully this will resonate with some people that are sort of new to the FinOps world. And if you are new to the FinOps world, welcome to FinOps X. All right, so we started our tooling cost optimization journey in 2019, and we've spent the last 6 years maturing it. So in 2019, 2020, it was all about building the foundation. We had a small centralized FinOps team, but we knew that visibility was important. That was paramount, number one. So we built out a Tableau dashboard so that the engineers and leadership could go in and see what our monthly cloud costs were. We built that out on Tableau. We leveraged AWS Cost Explorer to take advantage of the cost anomalies. We purchased RIs. We purchased savings plans. We shut down EC2s and RDS on nights and weekends. Well, RDS on weekends, EC2 on nights and weekends. And we negotiated an enterprise discount program, or as some of you might refer to it as a private pricing agreement. So those were our years to sort of build the foundation. Now, in 2021, we really wanted to optimize at scale. And so we did bring in a third-party cost optimization vendor. And they were fantastic. They helped us really scale up quickly. They were the right thing we needed at that time in 2021. Now, in 2022, that's when we wanted to get the accountability and the reporting. So we created a manual savings report that went out every month with cost optimization opportunities. We met with the top 10 VPs every month with the largest potential annualized savings. We built out a tag manager tool with our vendor. So we beta tested it, we gave them the requirements, and they built out this amazing tag manager tool for us. So really, again, we were getting that accounting, we were getting the reporting, but change was coming. So in 2023, it was a model shift. We knew that we really needed to step things up because by 24, we were going to be fully migrated to the cloud. So that's when we began our showback to chargeback transition. So how do we do this? We knew that it wasn't going to be successful unless we had leadership buy-in, because nobody wants to just flip a switch. We needed people to buy in, to know that this big change was coming. So we really spent a good part of the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024 meeting with teams, getting them trained, getting them used to the dashboard. So in 2024, that's when we rolled out our showback dashboard. Now our showback dashboard had everything built into it. So if you were looking at the dashboard, you knew that what you would be paying once we flipped the switch and did go into chargeback. So it took into account reserved instances, savings plans. We did keep some infrastructure costs at the top of the house, but this was big for us. I mean, this was a big change. This was everybody's North Star to get to chargeback. We also launched a forecasting tool. And then one thing that we did when we were meeting with all the various teams is we launched a FinOps ambassador program. And I'm happy to report we have 70 ambassadors throughout Fannie Mae. And this is one of our biggest accomplishments that sort of came out of that year. It was an exciting year, but people were really getting engaged. They were getting on board with our journey to the cloud. So with our FinOps ambassadors, we meet monthly. We do brown bags once a month for our ambassadors and really for anybody else that wants to learn more about FinOps. And we do our weekly office hours. So really training people, sort of train the trainer, getting people out there, spreading the word, because like I said, change was coming. We were moving to chargeback. And I have to say, it's been pretty successful. So in 2025, ownership and automation. All right, we made that move. We're in chargeback. But now we got to automate. Remember, I told you we had some manual reporting going on there. So one thing that we wanted to do was we wanted to bring in a third-party vendor to help us automate quickly. We loved our vendor, and we still love the vendor that we started out with. It's just they weren't able to do things that a lot of the other vendors had been out there. We sort of outgrew them a little bit. And so we decided to have a bake-off, and more to come on that. Bala will tell you about the bake-off. So we also built a forecasting tool at the same time. So we had the chargeback, we had the forecasting tool, we were ready to automate, we were ready to bring in a vendor. It was an exciting time. But, you know, not all plans work out. So where are we today? Today, we are building our own platform. So, and Bala will go into why we made those decisions. But we've got some really great tools that we're going to talk about throughout this session today. We can tell you what's worked, what didn't work. I mean, we've learned a lot in the process. But it's an exciting journey, and I'm really happy to hand this over to Bala so he can tell you.
Yeah. Yes, it is quite a journey from 2019. So we have been using FinOps tools for a while now. And now our FinOps practice maturity has been more in our enterprise. Our FinOps needs also changed. We are not just tracking cost anymore. We need automation. We need self-servicing capabilities. We need a recommendation engine, and we need auto-remediation. So in 2025, we performed what we call a bake-off. After validating credentials, we invited few vendors to participate in this evaluation. We were not just watching their demos. We actually asked them to install their tools into our sandbox environment, and our engineers were able to evaluate those tools hands-on. During this evaluation, we tested many things. First, we test to make sure that our current capabilities are already there in those tools. That's our baseline. Then we tested these tools are supporting all the governance controls for cost optimization. We also tested how quickly these tools can enable their automation and self-service in our environment, and how quickly they can integrate into our internal system. We also checked if there are any one single tool can meet our all needs instead of going into multiple tools. We also checked if these tools provide any new cost-saving opportunities that we are not aware of. And finally, we checked these tools are safe, especially they enable automation in our environment. So, what was the result? What did we find? We found that there is very little uniqueness among these tools, at least for our requirements. We evaluated about 60 different capabilities, and we have a simple scoring model, like 0 means it is not supported, 1 it is partially supported, and 2 it's fully supported. What we found was no single tool could able to meet all our needs end to end. And now the second finding, this is around the automation. Many tools require to install some kind of agents or proxies into our environment. Installing third-party proxies or agents into our environment is restricted through, in our security policies. The third key finding, another one, is about the completeness. As I mentioned earlier, there is no one single tool can able to support all our requirements. Even though these tools are supporting some capabilities, that's not, there are some still gaps in certain areas. To fulfill those gaps, they have to enhance their functionalities. They have to add more extended workflows, extended integrations, and customizing our governance model. When you put it all together, there is a lot to deal with. So when we see all of this, we knew we had to make a decision.
We did. Which brings us to the breakup. So sadly, we had to break up with our POCs. It was a little messy, but it wasn't them, and I tried to explain it. It was our information security. Because why we would let a SaaS vendor have read writes into our environment, we weren't going to give them write access. So really, at the end of the day, that just meant that we had recommendations that we had to go out and act upon. So there really wasn't any automation. Now, at the same time, we'd built up the FinOps team. That small FinOps team from 2019, we now had 4 engineers on the team. And we had partner pipelines. And honestly, we looked at ourselves and said, why can't we just do this? So that was a big driver. So again, to reiterate, we built to align automation with our security-first architecture. Bringing in a third-party vendor to do automation was just a bridge too far. And we tried to bridge that gap, but it just wasn't going to happen. And really, the only thing holding us back from building our own was just the risk of the unknown. We had all the tools. We had the brain power. We had Bala. We had a great engineering team to move forward with. So again, great partners. They were great. The POC people that we met with, they're all, you meet them, they're downstairs. They're all great people. They've all got fantastic tooling. But we truly believed that we could build this out ourselves. Because with no execution rights from those teams, there was really no automation. So recommendations didn't create savings, it just created work. And our safety-first constraints, it just required a different approach for us. So we built to securely move from insight to action. So Bala, what did we build?
Yeah. So now let me show you what we built from an insight into execution at scale. First, we built automation pipelines. These pipelines are there to implement our controls, detective controls, preventive controls into our environment. We started with EC2 and RDS, and then we expanded into more compute and storage. So these tools do those common things like shutdowns, daily shutdowns, weekly shutdowns, and then lifecycle policy updates, storage cleanup. So these automated process helped us eliminate many manual processes. And most importantly, we scaled optimization across all the compute, not just one area. The second thing we built was automation hub. This is our centralized workflow for self-servicing capabilities to manage something like exceptions, opt-outs. We started small, focused on simple use cases, and then we expanded across all services. The key idea here is we enable automation, but still maintain governance and control.
We also built out a recommendations engine. So remember that manual list I told you about back from 2020? We took all of that and we put it into a dashboard. Now I know what you're thinking, why didn't you just put it in a dashboard way back when? It was because the source of the data was coming from our third-party vendor. It was coming from AWS dashboard. It was coming from Splunk. They were coming from so many different multiple places. So we were able to take all of that and build it into a recommendations dashboard, which has just been so widely accepted. And again, something we do whenever we roll out tooling is we did brown bags. We must have had 5 brown bags getting people, and they were like, Jennifer, you had us at automated. But yes, we did a lot of brown bags. For every tool that we roll out, we do brown bags. We do office hours. We want people to engage. We want people to like what we're rolling out. And we also want them to tell us if it's not what they think it should be. So it's really great to do that beta testing, because when you buy, you're kind of restricted to what the company you're buying from gives you. But when you're building, the world is your oyster. We can add enhancements. So this was really an exciting time at Fannie Mae. Another thing that we built out was our information hub. So as you can imagine, we had a Tableau report, we had a forecasting dashboard, we had our third-party tooling. We were asking our engineers to go to and even our leadership to go to 3 or 4 different places. So the information hub put everything in one place. So in one place shop, they could go in and they could get their showback dashboard, they could get their forecasting tools, they could get their recommendations engine. And that's just the beginning. We're going to be adding more enhancements. We're going to be adding Tag Manager, we're an Invoice Explorer. So lots of things to come. So we're, again, very excited about this journey.
Okay, so how we transition from vendor tools into our internal platform. So the key idea here is we started with data foundation. And honestly, that solved the hardest problem. We brought together cost data across all cloud environment, AWS, Azure, and GCP. We created a standard model that represents this data across accounts, services, and business units. We built pipeline to ingest, transform, and validate different type of data, cost, usage metrics, and inventory into our infrastructure data lake. We strengthened our tagging and governance, so every resource is clearly mapped to their right ownership. And finally, we created a trusted data set that our engineering and finance team can trust and rely on. So once we had the data foundation in place, the next step was action. Because visibility alone is not enough. We need to take action on that. We started with rule-based recommendation first. We used cost and usage data together to identify actions like idle resource, right sizing, etc. We wanted everything to be explainable so teams can understand why this recommendation was made and they can act on them. So these recommendations are not just insight, they guide teams on what action they can take on. We also built a self-service dashboard like information hub. Team can see their cost and budget, and then they can take action on that. So we connected all these into workflows. When an insight is generated, it can lead to a real action. So we started with data, then insight, then recommendation, then action. And that's how we made this FinOps operational. So we have our own platform in place. Now, how we replace the tool? We did not switch everything at once. We took a careful and gradual approach. We ran our internal platform in parallel with the SaaS tool, and we validated the outputs in parallel. We compared accuracy, trends, and recommendations to make both systems are aligned with. We tuned our logic to match our internal cost drivers and policies for recommendations. We consolidated reporting and recommendations into one internal platform. And as confidence increases, we expanded our use cases across many teams. So this was not a big switch. It was a gradual transition based on validation and trust. And that's how we replaced these tools successfully.
So we created a unified FinOps platform. Now, what's nice about this unified platform is that it's also going to be multi-cloud. Now, while we are very big users of AWS, we do use Azure and we do use GCP. So this is allowing us to bring in those other visibilities, the other visibility for the other tooling. So it also gave us a single platform for cloud financial insight. We also built in governance and transparency, and we centralized our forecasting options and our savings. So we had to clean this up a little bit. I wish I could show you all the awesome things that Fannie Mae Legal made us take out, but it kind of gives you an idea. So as you can see, we've got our cost optimization, and when you would hit on that, it would pull down all of our dashboards underneath there. So we have about 4 or 5 right now. And then to the right, we also have our governance team, which is another team, but we're having their dashboards also be supported on our same site. So that really driving people to one location to get their FinOps needs. Our recommendations engine, again, has been stripped out a little bit of some data, but this should give you an idea. We wanted something in the recommendations engine that would resonate with leadership, that they could just go quickly and see how their assets are doing, but that would also be something that's useful and helpful to the developers and to the engineers, so that they could go in and they could drill down to the instance size. What's nice about this is when a person goes in, they'll get a recommendation. They can either say, yes, I can do it. No, I can't do it, it's performance impacting. Or I can do it, but I can't do it right now. I can do it in 6 months. We've got a big POC coming up. And so when they come in and they make those justifications, we'll track the yeses, we'll defer out, but we'll check back. And then we will take out the performance impacting. But we also do check back on that usually every 6 months to say, hey, are you still in that position? Because we do have a lot of COTS products where they say, we can't make this recommendation because it will impact how quickly we can spend. It'll be performance impacting. So this was a really great new tool that we brought out. It's going to be going live on July 1st. We've got people in beta testing. We've been beta testing it for the last 2 months. Very well received. I love that it gives the breakdowns. I love the detailed, actionable data. I love that it's a one-stop shop, and it's just an easy place for people to go. And then our next enhancement, which will be coming out in another month or 2, is we're adding an efficiency score so that teams can go in and they can see what their score is for their assets. So all of these dashboards we've brought in our CMDB data so we know who the business owner is, we know who the business owner VP is, who the tech owner is, who the tech owner delegate is. So it's pulling all of that in. We also have mandatory tags at Fannie Mae. We have golden tags. So they can sort by asset ID, they can sort by asset short name, they can sort by environment, life, if you name it, it's been built in. So Bala is the mastermind behind these. We did use, I guess we are bringing some AI in. We did use some AI
Yes,
with
of
sort
course,
of the user
of course.
interface
We were able
here.
To, we were able to build this dashboard like in few weeks with the help of AI. Yeah.
With the AI. So yeah, so we definitely leveraged AI for that.
All right. So where we are today. So what we started as a vision is now become a working platform. So today we have a unified platform in place, information hub. So this brings together cost, visibility, recommendations, and governance across all cloud. And our automation pipelines are running at scale. Our internal pipelines are not just identifying opportunities, they are actually acting on them. This is something the vendors could only recommend before. We have significantly reduced our dependency on the vendor. Third-party vendor tool has been phasing out, which helps our cost as well as external complexity. And FinOps is now expanding across our enterprise. Different teams are using it for forecasting, chargeback, and self-service optimization.
So Bala, was it easy?
It was not easy, but it was absolutely worth it, worth trying it. So building our own internal platform comes with a lot of challenges. First, creating a unified data foundation, this was one of the hardest problems. Bringing data together, it's not just data across from all cloud providers, it's from different data points, their cost, usage, and inventory, and ownership, all those data. We had to design pipelines that can run reliably at scale. This requires coordination across multiple teams. Our engineering, infrastructure, security, architecture team, we have to go through multiple iterations to make sure this meets our standards. We have to make this platform meet security, compliance, and long-term needs. And finally, moving away from a tool that people are comfortably using it was also a very challenging.
So here are some key takeaways for you. So my suggestion would be buy first to build your baseline, to scale up quickly. Because I think if you build too early, you might be repeating yourself because you're learning. So it's easy to buy first, but owning too long, if you buy, you don't want to buy too long because then you're spending money. You might be constrained to what is offered by the vendor. You can't really expand out. You know, time is really important. Don't force it. Transition it. Even like what we did when we went from showback to chargeback, that was like a year journey. We started the build out last year. We've done it slow, we've done it methodical. We want people to adopt it. We want people to like the tooling. So take the time, do it on your own time frame. Invest in trusted data, that's key. We built out a data lake. So we brought in our Cur 2.0 data, we built out, we've enriched it, we've enhanced it. So invest in your data. Evolve from tools to platform to capability. But ultimately, do what works best for you. We had some real security constraints that sort of drove our path. But ultimately, you be the decision makers of what's best for your environment. This is what's worked for us. I love what I do. Like I said, we've had a unified FinOps team since 2019. I feel like we're doing some really exciting, innovative things. I think bringing engineers into the FinOps team was probably one of the best things that we did. And I'm just happy to be along on this journey. So thank you. I know we are standing between you and a happy hour. So that being said, Bala is happy to answer any technical questions.
Reminder, holding the box doesn't make you loud. Talking to the box makes you loud.
Hi. Have you guys considered using focus files for integration? You mentioned using data pipelines. Have you used focus files to bring all the external cloud, public cloud, and your private cloud into focus and integrate it?
No, not yet. We are not on focus yet. We have, It's a separate pipeline for all those clouds, but we are not on Focus yet.
And let me elaborate a little bit on that, because I know we've already alienated all the vendors by saying we're building our own, and now we're kind of probably getting Joe Daly a little mad, because he's like, why aren't they using Focus? We're 95% AWS. So if we had gone to Focus, we would have lost some of the granularity. So we actually did a paper on it. You know, we did a white paper on it, we presented it, we did a deck. And it's not that we're not going to use it anytime, it's just we're not going to use it right now. Because right now we need that granularity that we have. Now eventually we will probably move to that is when we start using Azure and GCP more. So a little anecdote. I know you come to FinOps X, and if you're a first timer, you might be like, oh my God, everything's tokens, everything's AI, I've got to get on board with this. And 2 years ago, it was everything was Focus, everything's AI. And you might leave here thinking, am I doing something wrong if I'm not doing Focus, or maybe that we're not doing the whole tokenization? It's all going to come in time. For us at Fannie Mae, it just didn't make sense, and we weren't going to force it. It might make sense soon. I mean, if we're building up our GCP and we're building up our Azure, then absolutely it would make sense. But for us right now, it just doesn't.
Thank you. You guys did a great job with the presentation. Totally loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Right here. There you go.
How did you guys handle different stakeholders' appetite for automation? Some people were maybe more aggressive, some folks more conservative. How did you manage that?
I think we're the most aggressive, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, I mean, we had a director come in, and he worked at a different company where automation was paramount. So he was really driving it, like, we should build this ourselves, we should do this ourselves, this is what we did, this is what he did at his last company. So that was a real big motivator for us. I think teams were ready for it. I think they were ready for the automation, right? So it's really been widely accepted so far. We haven't had that much pushback.
So as far as the remediation and like resource termination, all that kind of stuff, there was a consistent uptake across the organization? That's the part I was curious about.
I didn't hear, but you can.
Sorry.
So like did you have different teams that had different willingness to let you automate managing resources? Did one team have an aggressive approach and another team was very conservative? They wouldn't want you to right-size anything.
I actually have a good example for you. So we recently did nighttime shutdowns of our ECS in lower environment. And so the product owner of ECS was our Terraform team. And they were like, I mean, everybody else wanted to do it. But that team was very much against it. Oh my gosh, shared services, people are going to need their lower environments up on nights and weekends. And it did take us a little bit convincing. They definitely pushed back on us. But when we told them we were going to save about $2.5 million, I think that's when they sort of came around. So it wasn't just, so we try to sort of say, this is what we're going to do, this is the cost benefit, but we also did an opt-out process. Yeah. So we have a pretty good, through our automation hub, people can opt out. So everybody's automatically opted in to our shutdowns. They have to opt out of our shutdowns. I mean, you should wait maybe another month. I could tell you the stories when we tell them we're moving into acceptance.
Okay, you.
What did end users start to think of the tool, like going from like a third-party tool that may like have good like user feel? Does your tool, do you find that your users have the good user feel of it?
No, you're right. I think it's a lot of the brown bags that we're doing. We're doing brown bags. We're getting their feedback. The ambassadors, we rolled it out early to the ambassadors. We're doing the office hours. Trust me, there are people who are constantly giving us updates to add, trying to appease them. I think the worst thing possible is if we move to the new tooling and people are disappointed in it because they're not going to adopt it. It'll be dead on arrival. So we're really trying to do everything possible to give them a voice in this because we're building it. That's the beauty of it. So we're reaching out to the various teams to get their points, to see what they need, because certain teams do need different types of reporting. So we're trying to address that.
So I have two questions. First question, if you didn't have the security first mandate, would you have gone in the same direction? And second question, is your company one that prefers, that has a company dynamic that prefers for people to create from scratch versus going with a pre-existing solution for the sake of, individual visibility or credit?
I can answer the first one if you want to get the second one.
So,
Or get them
yes,
both.
security is first, but if you look at those tools, we didn't have one single tool that meet all our requirements. We had to go for multiple tools. So when we built all these, we can have our own platform that we can add more and more functionalities.
Yeah, you're right. It's safe, right, to have a third-party vendor. Come on. It's nice to have somebody that does the work for you, but we're limited, right? So if you're right, if they were allowed to do the automation and everything, but I'm glad where we ended up. I'm glad we're building out. We're growing our engineers. We're doing really exciting things across Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae's, like they say that FinOps, it's a team sport. And Fannie Mae's really embraced that. Like I said, we have 70 ambassadors throughout. Some of our biggest cost optimization opportunities have come from our engineers, just saying they're their boots on the ground. They're seeing things. They've come to us and said, hey, have you thought about, bringing down those DMSs? They're noticing things. They're telling us things. I think we would have gotten there. I don't know if we would have gotten there as quickly as we are today, but I don't regret it. I'm probably not invited to a few happy hours tonight, but but I don't regret it.
So obviously this is a substantial undertaking. How big is the team that builds, maintains, and operates it? And how long did it take you for this journey, like right from the designing to the implementation and convincing the stakeholders?
So I call them the Holy Trinity. So we have 3 engineers that are dedicated to building out the tooling. And I've said to Bala, Bala, do you need anybody else? And you've said, no, he doesn't. I think it's amazing what they've been able to do. We have support. There's always teams that are there. So we have 4 engineers, so 3 of them are on building out the tools. I have another engineer that's kind of dealing with the niche things that are going on. So we've kind of learned it's one thing to ask an asset team to do something. Now I've got a team that can actually go ahead and do the right sizing for them, that can terminate their idle. So I've got another engineer that's doing that. And then we have some reporting. We have a reporting arm of it. So we've got, about 7 or 8 people on our team? Yep. Did I answer your question? Because I can go off on tangents. Okay. All right.
Hi, so we are on a similar journey where we have a tool that we are using and building our own custom tool as well. For the recommendations part, were you using the provider purchase plan analyzer or something of that sort, or did you engineer that as well in your own tool? So how much of it was leveraged from the cloud provider versus you really engineering it in your own tool?
So we use our custom rule-based recommendation engine, and we are in the process of adding cost optimizer from AWS into our recommendation process. Yes. So it's a mix of both.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
we're in the process of Compute Optimizer, and I'm so glad to hear that they've added so many. I don't know if you've caught the rollout today, but they're adding a lot of more idle resources. Can I tell you something about Compute Optimizer? We've been trying to bring Compute Optimizer into Fannie Mae for 8 months now because they have such a rigorous process because it has some AI ML in it. It's finally just recently approved for use. It's very timely that it is approved for use, but we will be leveraging Compute Optimizer too. So Splunk, Compute Optimizer, and also what we've been able to. We've built our own data lake, so what we've been able to do with the role base.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome.
I had a question. You guys mentioned also with the recommendations that people can take action or kind of leave if they can take action, not take action, or at a later time.
Right.
In the sense of tracking that or follow-ups, because sometimes you're like, I can't do this right now, but we're in the process of making changes, and they say hey, in 3 months or so, can we look at this again? is there some way you guys like have a follow-up tracking of like, okay, all these are done, these still need, and how you guys maybe, do you guys have it maybe implemented with ticket systems or anything else where it kind of has a workflow?
We do follow up. So we do keep track of that, and we do follow up with teams. And something kind of exciting that we are going to also bring into our recommendations tooling that we're working through is that if a person says, yes, I can make that update, they'll be able to push a button and it'll go through our automation hub, and our automation hub will go ahead and make that update for them. So that's in our timeline. If FinOps X was, maybe they'll, I guess it's not going to be FinOps X next year. We'll have to, we'll bust in next year and we'll talk about it. We'll give you guys an update.
Awesome, thank you.
How was the FinOps team presenting recommendations in Cloud Spend when the FinOps tool was still under development? Were you guys using a third-party tool in that phase?
Yeah, so we're still using that third-party tool, so we're sunsetting it. We're sunsetting it in September. Again, I can't say enough good things about that vendor. They really helped us to scale up. They put us on the successful path that we're on today. So there's nothing but love with that vendor. They realize where we're at because they realized our security constraints. So we're not a shy group, the FinOps team at Fannie Mae. Like I said, we do a lot of brown bags. We do a monthly newsletter. I mean, my biggest fear is if we tried to roll something out and someone said, I've never heard of that, that would crush me. So we try to keep actively engaged. And I think through our ambassador program, like I said, we have 70 ambassadors. I think, you know, we meet with them very regularly. We have our weekly office hours. So we're constantly, they might be sick of me actually. They're probably glad I'm here this week. But yes, we are in constant communication with people.
Probably time for one more. Oh, of course, it's crossed up. Oh. Let's go. There you go.
Thank you. Sorry. We have a similar model that we were doing as a follow-up question to over there, where we were keeping track of what all of our application teams could or couldn't do, but it wasn't really sustainable. So I was curious how you are tracking that. Are you, like, we had a spreadsheet and it was a nightmare to manage, honestly. Yeah. Are you looking at integrating with Jira, or like, is that on, how are you addressing that? And then second related question, what is the makeup of your central FinOps team from like a skills and capabilities perspective? Just curious on that.
Sure. So I guess I'll start with the last and then work it. So we have 4 engineers. We have 1 part-time tech lead right there in the front row. I'll give a wave, Andre, who's also a FinOps professional. All of us, and then I've got, on the more business side, I have 2 people that sort of run reports. And then I have 1 person that's hybrid, sort of, she does the newsletter. We're doing some, we inherited retirements, full app retirements this year, so we're also doing that. And she's also technical. She actually just built out the code for, we're automating the termination of idle EBSs. So she just built out that code. We're all about training. We all have our cloud practitioner. We're all cloud engineers. So we keep up the training. And I don't know, I think I got really lucky too. It's like lightning in a bottle. We have a really good team where our tech team takes the time to explain, and if we show interest that we want to learn something, they kind of work with us. So we might not be a huge team, but I feel like it's a really productive team. And then when you were talking about the spreadsheets, I mean, we were living that just until recently, those spreadsheets. We had 1 guy who that's what he did. He just sort of managed the spreadsheets. What's nice about the tool, and you can go into that, is that we can pull reports from it right now from the recommendations tool. So that's one way we can keep track of who's deferred, who said yes. So we're able to pull those reports from, and I think although they pull right into an Excel, right? But we are able to pull the reports.
And they can reconcile the previous month recommendations and the history of it.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
All right, everyone. Let's give another big round of applause. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. Thanks for watching. Check out the rest of our channel for more FinOps content. Like, subscribe, and leave questions and comments for our speakers. We appreciate your support.